Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 64. We are coming at you after Jack and Dad Assen. And it was an amazing race, and we have a ton to talk about. On the phone with me is Everett.
What up?
You weren't expecting me to say your name first.
No, nobody was.
No one was. It happened, though. Kevin is actually here, too, but he is coming at us from Iceland, and I think he's in a car.
I'm in a Hyundai.
Wait, was that a Honda?
I'm in a Hyundai.
They have those in Iceland?
I'm in a Hyundai in some town called Husendorf or something. And,
there's no way you said that correctly. There was probably like 3 Y's and 6 K's in that word.
And like 19 umlauts. There's just umlauts everywhere.
Umlaut.
Constant umlauts. Yeah, it's fucking 5:45 a.m. and we've been in the car here for about half an hour dialing this thing in. I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah, but and you told me that it hasn't been nighttime the entire time you've been there, right?
I haven't seen night in like a week and a half, bro. Straight up.
The perils of vacationing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Kevin is a little jacked right now. Ev just got off of vacation in San Diego, and I wasn't even in town because I was racing in Utah.
Vagina.
The whale's vagina. Yeah. So this episode,
I prefer to call it I prefer to call it whale tang, but you know.
Nice.
You're insane. Yeah, we
basically the blowhole.
We felt like we had to put this episode together quick because the race was so good, and we have something special to announce. But before we do that, we got to give it up to Riders Law for making this episode happen. Riders Law, they are your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. I actually hung out with Cy, the one of the 2 main lawyers, all weekend, and he came out and helped me in Utah with some pro motorcycle racing with Moto America, and it was pretty awesome. And he actually got some cred from other mechanics there because they saw him change one of my rear tires. So that's the kind of lawyer that you can have working for you.
Get his hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly. He knows what's going on, and he's gonna do his.
There's a slogan in there somewhere. I don't know what it is. Best. That's a contest. It's T-shirt to the best slogan for side changing tires.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
but only if you're a dude size small.
That's all we have left.
That is fucked up.
Yeah, so anyone out there, if you ever get into an accident on the street or you need some legal help, please give Riders Law a call. They will help you out. Tell Cy or Lawyer Rob that you heard about them on BrotoGP, and they will definitely take care of you.
Why isn't
speaking of taking care of you?
Point of clarification: why isn't Cy Lawyer Cy? Yet Rob is. I mean, I know you're Rob, but we know who you are. So can't he just be Rob?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, there was actually a discussion with Cy whether or not he would be other Rob or Lawyer Rob, and it's kind of going back and forth as to which one they want to hear on the podcast.
Oh,
I don't know. Is he fake Rob? He has the other Rob has a persona called Biker Bob, but we don't really want to refer to him as Biker Bob.
No.
Fair
Fair enough.
But all right, we were talking about some swag in there, and Kev, take it away on what you want to announce.
Yes, because we did, obviously, in celebration of Dovizioso winning multiple races and now leading the title. Dun dun dun.
Spoilers.
We decided that we would, brought to you not by anyone in particular other than us, and I suppose through the back door brought to you by Cy, but we decided to give away a Dovizioso replica helmet, a Sport SR Suomy, and we chose a winner based off of people who had gotten swag from us or gotten stickers and posted pictures, and basically kind of just, support the fans, support the OGs, and everyone that was, that's kind of, asked for the stuff. We gave stickers away for free, so I don't want to hear anyone complaining about like, oh, you had to buy. No, we had free stickers. We gave away lots of free shirts too. So I gave away my own baby blue Rossi shirt at one point. So I don't even have one. So people had a better chance of winning than I did. But
I forgot
about
that.
So we chose at random, put in a number generator, chose a random dude, and Panigale John, you are the winner from Houston, Texas. So not only do you have a Ducati, but you will have a Dovizioso replica helmet to match that dope-ass Panigale.
We just need your size.
So, So I'll hit him up. Dude messages me on Instagram regularly anyway, so he might even be at World Superbike, so I will hit you up, let you know. But if you hear this, send me a message. We got to get your size so we can get that thing ordered and shipped to you. So once again, Suomy Sport SR. Divizioso replica going to my main man Panigale Ajane.
Yeah, so head down to your local Cycle Gear or some other store and try one on so we can get you the right size, and we will ship it out to you.
Right.
Yes, we want. That's one cool thing about this time with the free helmet is we will buy it for you. So, yeah.
Yes.
But let's
and one request. Obviously, I think it goes without saying. We'd like a picture with it, maybe with the Panigale. I mean, that might be a nice bonus.
That's true.
Right, tag
That's
us,
a
bro.
good point. Yeah, and for anyone that didn't get in on this this giveaway, we're sorry that you didn't get free stickers, but we are making more. I will have them by World
Right.
Subaru Bike, and then we will start giving them away, and you can donate and buy them or just ask for some for free, and we'll probably give them to you. So
That was,
it'll
but
all
that was
happen.
kind of the. Let's clarify. That was kind of point of the reward was to reward the people who've been involved and longtime listeners. And so, if you want to get the stickers for the next time this happens, we're happy to
They're
give it
gonna
to you.
be
Just let us know.
Dude, if they all think that we're giving away another helmet like right quick, they're gonna be gone in a week. It's gonna be great.
Right, yeah.
Well, you never know. You never know. We might. Depends.
It's true. Depends on how much Side loves us and keeps
Okay,
sponsoring these
I'm ready.
episodes.
It's fucking. I haven't slept in like 36 hours, so let's do this.
Wham.
All right.
I'm
so
high on
let's-
delirium, dog.
At
right.
5:30.
motorcycle racing. So we gotta jump straight into the race. We're not gonna talk. We'll talk about qualifying maybe a little bit later. Straight into the race. Rossi fucking won it. It's been
Yeah.
20 years and like 300 days since his first win. He's freaking old, but you can never count him out. Talk about it.
No, I'm fucking 20 years deep, like the post on Instagram said. 20 years deep, he's still taking them to school. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, he was like, nowhere the last couple races. Bro gets the new chassis, the bike that allows him to get the corner entry that he likes, and suddenly he's dominating. In the dry during the race, a little bit of rain comes down, he gives no fucks, and he's just like, again, a track he loves. 10 times he's won at this track. The dude just, I know Everett was pissed because he's just, right when you think he's down, he's like, I'm going to win, cool, I'm racing for 5 more years.
Yeah. You can't be, the older he gets, though, the more I respect it. As much as I'm a Rossi hater, it's pretty impressive, right? And I do have to give, kudos where it's due. Those mixed conditions, straight up, he flexes nuts, man. The biggest balls win those races, and it's just crazy that the old guy who has a fuck ton of money and should give a lot of fucks doesn't. He has lots to give. He just doesn't give them.
I love how he actually said in the last 2 laps, I simply imagined that it had stopped raining.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking mind over matter, dude. Like, right, no, it's like if you go fast enough, the slicks will stay hot enough.
Yeah.
You just keep going. Just fuck it.
It's kind of the Marc Marquez approach, but Rossi just took it and won the freaking race when the other sort of title contenders didn't really have it for him, and he was just battling his bro Petrucci.
Yeah.
So
he was just out there having fun. It's like the comment he said, like, this is why I race, for this feeling, right? Like, he basically admitted it's totally a drug. He sort of said, like, all the hard work, all the training, all that stuff is for, like, these 6 hours after the race. I think was something along the line of his quote. It was like he's high for 6 hours, basically. But, he was... He had it. This race he seized the moment. There wasn't a lot of dry time practice. It was kind of mixed here and there. And it's a track that he knows and a track that he clearly excels at. And he just, he seized the moment knowing that I had the pace. He was fast right off the bat. He got a badass start. He was following Zarco while Zarco led. Again, the amount of laps that Zarco has led during a race this season is pretty insane for a rookie satellite. But he was just not to be denied. And it was, watching it, I was fucking psyched, he's battling Petrucci, so he's battling his friend too, and then there's Marc Marquez right behind him, and as Nick Harris reminded us about 19,000 times that they had some sort of incident in 2015.
Hey, you forgot he mentioned it a few
Right,
times, he's getting old.
Right, yeah, but they mentioned about as many times as he's old. But, it's just simply he was in the zone, and he's there, and that's why he's racing, just sort of, the thrill of victory. And to watch that was, to watch it at a very strange time in the Faroe Islands is where I was watching it was pretty sweet.
So I kind of want to talk about the chassis a little bit without getting too technical. Do you think Yamaha sort of let Rossi down by not doing this chassis development in the off season and not bringing it to prior rounds? Like we talked about the Casey Stoner effect before with Maverick.
You're right. He said in the press conference that from the get-go, he knew he wasn't fast in corner entry. He actually said, I didn't feel fast, and then he paused and corrected himself and said, I wasn't fast in corner entry, which we know has been like his hallmark since day one. The dude is the best on the brakes. You know, maybe he's not a front tire sliding, turning with the rear wheel in the air like Marquez, but his strength has always been the brakes, and Yamaha gave him a chassis that wasn't good for him on corner entry. Well, like you said, Maverick was leading every test and winning a bunch of races. So they're like, well, I don't know, he's winning, bro.
Yeah. No, I don't think they let him down. I think that's just MotoGP is getting to this point of where everything's at the pinnacle, and without some massive new rule set, the bikes are really difficult to fine tune, and they're always looking for some little minute advantage, and I think Yamaha's just struggled to find that. So, maybe they finally stumbled on it and got what he needs.
Yeah, I guess that is the thing, right? Rossi is only doing worse this year because other people have improved. Like Honda's kind of come up, and of course we've seen the improvement from Ducati. So and that happens year after year. It's just kind of sad to see this change, right? The second someone gets a new chassis, they go from doing terrible in other races terrible for them, and then pulling this amazing win off.
But that's
the guy gets a new chassis and suddenly he's confident enough to say, I just pretended it wasn't raining. That's a confidence inspiring chassis. If he's like, it's raining, nah, it's not raining. It's all good.
I think there's more to it though. Obviously Zarco was fast, so I don't know if it was just the chassis, but you also look at the tire combos. I forget, exactly where we're going to plug this part in, but we talked about honorable mention in the tires to a degree in this conversation today, and I think tires played into this again, and I think the mixed conditions, and again, it's about kind of the guts and the glory, and Rossi knew that he was far enough back in the championship that the guys who were at the front of it, right? We saw, we'll get into Dovi backing off a little bit, but the guys at the front weren't there, and then Maverick crashing out. He knew it was his moment to seize, and he did that. He went for it.
I don't think. They're only halfway through the season. There's no way that anyone that's only 25 points back goes into the race going, oh, I don't need to worry about the title. I can just go for the race win. Right? Especially when Maverick goes down.
No, that's where Rossi is actually pretty cutthroat. I think people think he's a nice, friendly, soft, fuzzy guy, but the dude's fucking a murderer when it comes to the racetrack. The guy knows how to just be extremely competitive and cutthroat, and he knows what it takes to win championships. So he sees the moment. It's that simple.
Yeah, he definitely did.
And you saw earlier in the week, earlier in the weekend, we saw things that Moto Matters and Emmett had talked to Bradley Smith, and you'd seen Bradley Smith talking about, obviously everyone on the track's hella good, and why do we see these kind of huge variances? And it was people are having a real hard time finding the sweet spot on setup. Like the tires, they're different. People are still, I've talked about this with Marquez, with Everett, that Maverick or that Marquez is still riding the tires or hoping they're kind of like Bridgestones when they're not. So he's taking away that sort of front end insanity he was able to do. But the finding the sweet spot to get the competitiveness is a lot harder these days. And so you see this huge variance of guys who should be closer to the front not be, or guys that you wouldn't think would be close to the front suddenly are. You saw Folger in second at one point. Petrucci all of a sudden is going super fast. We see the older Ducatis doing pretty well. Our man Carroll got P7 in the race, or I think, 7 because Miller got 6. And some of these guys are having a harder time finding that, that perfect operating zone. So it's really kind of thrown this championship into almost, I don't want to say disarray, but you never really know what's going to happen. It's just too up in the air to really commit to, oh, this guy's clearly going to win a bunch of races or this guy's not, and I think Valentino just, he had, with the lack of dry setup time, he knows the track and the bike is inspiring confidence, so he just went for it.
Yeah, well, and that variability actually leads us into our next point, is that Maverick freaking choked in the race, even though he had such an amazing Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Like he left Friday with the fastest time, and then he gets into the race and doesn't have an amazing start, because he didn't do well in qualifying. Yeah, and it, to me, in the beginning of the race, it kind of looked like he was kind of taking that slow approach and trying to build through the pack. But it wasn't going as fast as it needed to for him to close that gap up to the front four.
And he started freaking out, and so he pushed, right? And that's, I mean, you know this. I don't care what level of racing you're at. If you're generally at the front, you end up mid-pack. Bad things happen further back you get. So he's like, fuck, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, and then he finally got around Dovi, right? And then just had that mistake, which was a very awkward crash, to be honest.
Well, what he did was he lifted the front wheel. He got a little tiny wheelie, and when he came down, it was so crossed up, it hooked up, and like it was weird. It was like a front wheel high side. It was really strange.
Right, and the thing that annoyed me about that whole thing is, like, Everett is just some dude at his house, right? And he just broke down what happened. But if you heard Maverick's quote, it's like, we don't know what happened. Who cares? It was a mistake. No one can know what happens, and we don't know. It was just a thing. Like, he literally went, like, I gave him some credit earlier this year when he crashed. He didn't focus on the cause and just going to keep going. But this one's like, bro, you just made a huge mistake, and you're just saying, yeah, I don't know. No one can know. Like, no, you have to actually analyze what happened because you just lost the title lead. Like, you won 3 races, you had podiums, and the last 2 races have not been a good look. You can't just throw that out the window. You have to analyze a little bit and be like, okay, this title challenge just got off the rails slightly. I still have the most wins, and I'm still second with only a few points behind, but suddenly, like, things aren't perfectly rosy. It's time to actually analyze and see what happened and not make that mistake, because that was just a mistake. He's flying through that fucking chicane just too fast, and during the transition, he just fucking loses it.
Yeah,
you're kind of making one of my primary points, or one thing that I thought for me is that he's mind fucked, just completely. Everything is building up. And I feel like everything that happened at the post-Barcelona test with the new chassis and Rossi is just contributing to him being mind-fucked. And we've seen this with Rossi's other teammates.
He sort of has... Remember how I've always said that win ruined Jack Miller? Because now he knows what winning tastes like, but he's on a bike and he doesn't really have the talent to actually be winning.
Yeah.
He'll probably never do it again. And he's already talking about Pramac aren't going to take him because he wants too much money and all that, right? I'm going to stay on that point, you'll see. But, like, that win ruined him, right? Like, it threw his old expectations off. Maverick jumps on the Yamaha, leads every test, wins a bunch of races. He basically thinks that trophy, he has one hand on it. He thinks that the top step of the podium, that's his top step of the podium. And, and even when he has a little stake, he's just like, whatever, it's all good, because he thinks, I'm not even going to focus on it. That's my fucking championship. Those are my race wins. Right. One mistake is no problem. But now the dude is starting to grip a little. Rossi's suddenly fast. Yamaha gives him a chassis he likes and not Maverick as much. And suddenly he looks a lot more human, and I think he's gripping a little. He won a bunch of races and looked so much more outclassing the field than everyone else that he sort of expects it. Like, now, bro, Dovizioso's leading this title hit change with the lowest amount of points at this point in modern history. This is not a championship that is earmarked for anyone at this point.
Yeah, and we have the top 4 within 11 points. With very low point totals. It's crazy.
I mean, he's definitely rattled, and it's like he's just putting his head in the sand and basically like, yep, we don't know. I'm moving on. I'm trying to just forget it, ignore it. It never happened, and that's my psychology around solving this problem. And it's really an immature way to approach it, in my opinion.
He's still a kid, and I mean, he could pull it out in the end. It can work. But
he still has the most wins. He's still second, so it's not like a disaster. When we saw in 2015, it don't matter if you lead the championship until the end of the final race. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, leading the championship isn't that important. Anyway, we could see, Marquez is probably going to win Sachsenring this weekend, and then he'll be leading the championship, and we'll see 3 different leaders in 3 different races. But, so you don't really know. You know what I mean? Right, but I do think that you're seeing some chinks in the armor suddenly. That cool assassin, exterior where he looks so calm and collected, and he's just on the bike and he's fast and he has that smirk. He's looking a little rattled now all of a sudden. Things are not as easy and they're not being handed to him, in the way that he probably expected early on when he was doing so well.
He's still following the Top Gun movie. Right? Like, we're just now, like, halfway through the plot line when he's kind of lost the edge.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
And he better be careful, because if you follow the Top Gun movie, Maverick doesn't win Top Gun, bro. He just graduates. Iceman wins Top Gun. And who's the coldest Iceman in the paddock? Dovi.
You think so? You think Dovi's Iceman now?
No, but no. Yeah, exactly. Dovi is not. Dovi is way closer to fucking Cougar.
Damn.
Oh, man.
That's a good one. We have to go make an analogy with all those guys now.
Yeah, well, exactly. Dennis will listen to the episode and he can come up with a good Photoshop for us. Something's in there. Let's kind of move back a little bit and talk about qualifying just real fast before we get on to Ducati. Is anyone still on the Zarco hype train?
Hell yeah. Go look at his results. I mean, overall,
like I said, he looks good. I think Zarco, he fucking pole position. You know, he took the next step, and he's got his podium. He's led races. He's got pole. He led this race, and the dude's a stud. He's on point. It's just a matter of putting it all together. He made a rookie mistake and kind of a dumb gamble this race. And
it was so dumb. He lost serious points with me. I'm not on the hype train, so I'm going to be extra critical. But
you're fully off?
No, I was never on. I was never on the hype train.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm very critical of this kid. Well, he's not a kid. Sorry. But it's just...
Right, he's an old fucking man.
Yeah, I know. And that experience shows me that he should not be making this type of rookie mistake of coming in to switch tires, be the first one to do it when no one else has even made that leap. Like, as someone that should be fighting, that wants to be fighting for the win, you don't just make those changes because the risk is too high, right? If you make those changes, if you're back in 15th place and you want to try and get a leg up on everyone because you only have 1 point to lose. But when you're sitting in 4th or 5th place, you don't sacrifice all those points to get absolutely 0 points because you spent
and the fucking dude
lane.
made a weird comment too. He was like, "Well, I saw the rain flag, so I assumed it was starting to rain really hard, and that's why it was out." It's like, bro, you didn't even analyze conditions.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a noob. You fucking, you had like 90 years in Moto2 before you stepped up. You know the marshals are just doing what race direction says. It's not like a weather report. It's just, hey, there's some rain. Like, that you're allowed to switch bikes if you want. It doesn't mean go switch bikes. It just means you can if you want. But he sort of took the rain flag as, it's obviously dumping somewhere. It should change. No, dude, feel the conditions out and then decide. He let the volunteer marshals decide for him.
Well,
the random ass dudes in the Netherlands who come and get like, a free hot dog and Coke, to be fucking corner workers and track marshals, make the decision for him.
And in Moto2, they stop the race when it actually dumps enough for rain tires. Like, they don't just show you the rain flag. They let you keep going for like 5 or 6 laps until it actually dumps. He should hit all his experience says he normally would be riding in those exact conditions, and he probably could have done pretty well because we saw Cal pull up to the group that he really didn't seem like he was ever going to get there, but he managed to do it. Zarco was having trouble with his tires, but the rain could have equalized that, and he threw it completely away.
And he was on the soft tires too. He was on the tires that would have handled it the best. You know what I mean? Like the track cooling down, getting a little wet. Like he was weird. He saw the rain flags and he just admitted he just assumed it was going to rain hard and he switched bikes. That's a pretty nasty gamble.
Yeah, and it pains me to see him throw away that many points in the championship.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Right.
I mean, but the real irony is had it rained and his choice had been like the right thing, he would have still incurred the 10-second ride-through penalty and gone from whatever. Let's just pretend he got first. He would have got 10 second and probably gotten like back in 5th, 6th, 7th or something anyway. So it's kind of ironic that he still fucked that up. He had his head up his ass.
The ride-through is unforgivable as well. Right.
Yeah, he just had his head up his ass that race. I think he was kind of red misting it, and then he saw it and he's like, I got to take the risk because he kind of knew the soft tire was going to go. And to your point, Kev, when it started raining, he should have gotten smarter and gone, hey, let's give this thing a chance and see how it actually does hold up. Maybe it will work out. And Instead, he just fucking just jumped on it. He's like, oh, I'm going to take the risk and gamble first, and I'm going to see if I can get the win and the reward from it. And it just backfired completely.
Right, because Valentino's on the hard tire, and and if we at home know what they're on, what the riders know what everyone else is on. Valentino's in the hard. If it starts dumping rain, bro has to change. But Zarco could limp some super softs, limp those things home. It was a bad decision all around. It was just It was not a good look, straight up. He fucked up, and I think he knew it, and it was like, shit.
I'm still on the hype train. One race doesn't screw you up, but it was.
I got you to say some negative
big
things
time
there,
mistakes.
though. I'm happy.
Well, it was totally mistakes, galore. I mean, he made several of them in sequence in the race. Yet he had a phenomenal weekend, so it's kind of like it's pretty disappointing. But I think he'll bounce back.
Yeah, he got his.
And I think it really comes down to the same thing: is that. We talk about a rookie, but the bro isn't really a rookie in the same sense. He's a lot older than most of the rookies are, and we've talked about how that's actually might be sort of his strength. The counterpoint is that he's a little older, he's a little more mature. He's had to claw tooth and nail to get where he's at. He repeated Moto2 champion for the first time ever, and he did it. Beating the up and comers. Like the guy is intelligent and mature and smart. He's not really a rookie in the same sense that we've seen other people be rookies. You know what I mean? He spent a lot of time in the middle class. He's a little bit older and, not old, but he's a little more mature. He's not like a 21-year-old hothead. You know what I mean? He's just a little bit older and smarter, and it's just odd to see him make such a blunder when, they weren't slowing down. It wasn't like their laps were dropping off and he went, fuck, I need to seize the moment and get on the rain tires. They were barely slowing down at that point. He saw the yellow flags or the white flag that the flag to flag spot, and he got spooked, and he's like, fuck it, I'll try.
I mean, how many of these have we seen in the last year or two? It's like the first guy is generally the biggest loser, right? And yet he's still just like, I'm just gonna dive in there. It's like you don't go by yourself when you're leading the race, and you don't even go when you're in second or third, unless the guys in front of you go. Then you go too, and it's like somebody's gonna coach him after that one.
I can only think of like one or two other instances where the first guy to go in actually succeeded in pulling out. Like maybe
it's rare.
Checa back at Motegi or something on Ducati. Was that a mixed condition race?
It's extremely.
It was forever ago. Yes, it's extremely rare. But let's get on to something more positive instead of just talking shit for. We got other stuff to talk shit about later. So I want to.
We are really good about talking shit, though.
I know, right? So let's do.
That
some
is our
positive,
forte.
and then we'll go back to shit talking. So I wanna talk about Ducati Moses because everyone is loving that term. Everyone I tell about Ducati Moses, they're like, "How the fuck did you come up with it?" And I just say it was all Kevin's fault.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So the main point for Ducati is that I feel like we have to stop saying that they're not a title contender now. Like, it's proven.
Right? No, they fully are. They fully are.
What do you say now?
Dovizioso even admitted that the reason he backed off was he started thinking of the championship. Like, they are. That bike is good. It's won multiple races. It's fucking a satellite rider as podium, got multiple podiums. The Ducati is on Michelin's with no wings somehow a good bike this year. Dovizioso's got that thing dialed and looking strong. Petrucci feels solid. Even the older bikes, Bautista's looking pretty decent on the thing. It's just, they're totally a contender. In a crazy mixed up year, the consistency of Dovizioso and getting 2 wins early on, he's in contention.
I think the consistency of Dovi is what's playing to that strength, really, because he's kind of tempering out the variability of the tires and of the conditions, right? Because we've seen, not just in the tires, but we've seen a huge swing in what's actually going on with the racetrack. The track surfaces, the weather, the amount of practice time they get. I do think that Ducati was helped out quite a bit by the fact that there was limited practice time, even though they really weren't that fast in the wet. But the fact that they did have the wet practice meant that Yamaha and Honda weren't able to perfect their dry setup.
Anytime.
Well, and Everett made a point earlier. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, anytime you disrupt the status quo of the tracks, the data, the time that these guys have, Yamaha and Honda specifically, they've got all that data. Anytime you disrupt the status quo of that data set, Ducati's got a shot. It's that simple.
And you look at Dovizioso, he's been on that bike forever.
Yeah.
If it's disrupted, you don't have quite perfect. He's been riding that Ducati and slowly evolving it forever. He's not Maverick on a brand new bike, flicking it through or under weird conditions. He's ridden that bike in every condition you're going to have for the past 4 or 5 years. It's not a brand new machine to him. But the point I wanted to make about him being title contender is, we've seen him win multiple races and podium, and if it wasn't for the fact that he got taken to Argentina, he'd be really leading the championship right now. Yeah. But if you saw him in that race, he was attacking there for a while. He was making some hard passes. He was going strong. It was the Dovi we hadn't seen all that much. He was really battling and fighting. And then, when it was raining a little harder, conditions were a little sketchier, then he decides, okay, I'm going to back off, get a solid 5th, get some points. We saw a guy who thought he could maybe win, and he was battling hard, and as soon as conditions were, okay, I got to back this off, because Everett said earlier, it's the guy who makes the least mistakes that's going to win this championship, because everyone's making mistakes.
Right.
Everyone's doing it, and Dovi's the guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and you saw that he's winning, and he has that fire now. Right. And then as soon as he knows that the risk isn't there, he backs slightly off and gets a top 5. But what did Valentino say in the press conference? If you watched it, is his goal isn't necessarily to win every race, but to win this championship, you have to finish top 5.
Well, and you've got to win every race. You've got to win the ones that you can win, and that's exactly what Rossi did. And that's what I was going to say is Rossi's historically been the one that's the smart guy to be consistent and take a couple wins throughout the year, and he still ends up 1st or 2nd. There's those years though where a Marc Marquez hits the scene and just dominates, and Rossi's like, well, shoot, I rode super consistent. Well, yeah, Marquez just fucking had all the right things, and he just creamed everybody, right? So now he's got a competitor in the older and wiser, journeyman guy. Well, not even journeyman. That's the wrong word for a Rossi, of course. I'm sorry.
Go with category.
Yeah. I mean, wrong category. I mean, same category, right? So Dovi and Rossi are both the really smart, intelligent rider who know that they don't have to win every race. They just need to win, maybe 3, maybe 4. And just be there every race and no DNFs. You can't. I think we've talked about this too, right? Even Marquez was saying, I can't have 3 DNFs. You get 3 DNFs, it's like game over for your championship. So he's even saying, pretty much, I can't do it anymore.
Well, and if those two are competing with just trying to get the highest average finish for the whole year, we probably got to give it to Dovi, because it seems like his bike has the better baseline at all of the racetracks.
Right, like works in a greater zone, a wider zone. You know what I mean? Like it's the Bridgestone, circa 2007 of the bikes. It doesn't have like the outright speed, but it has paradoxically a wider operating zone. It worked in the perfect conditions at Mugello. It was pretty solid. At Barcelona, with the weird ass track, he was still good. And we saw this race with Petrucci. In the varying conditions, their baseline was good enough that they were competitive. And the GP17 is a race-winning bike. I mean, Petrucci could have won that race if it wasn't for fucking back markers. Straight up. That GP17 could have had another, race winner on it.
Wait.
Would have. I'm just saying.
Do we have to give him shit for making a Cal-like statement?
His was real. His had merit. No,
Cal's statement was, if there was more laps, I would have won. There's not more laps, though, right? There's never more laps.
If there were more laps, he would have still lost.
If I didn't fucking...
He would have ran out of gas.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If there was 2 more laps, Cal, you'd have run out of gas. That's really what would have happened. But Petrucci was like, if fucking, the idiot back markers who went in and changed bikes hadn't done that and been in my way, and the fucking marshals had actually thrown blue flags to get him off track, I could have at least, the fucking announcers spent the entire race talking about the Marquez-Rossi incident. The same fucking announcers who got mad at everyone for fucking booing Marquez or cheering, when guys crash and freaking out. But of course, the first thing they do is talk constantly about that incident that they don't want anyone else to talk about or react to.
We need to set.
But it's like,
hold on, the silly season for the commentators. Do we think it's Nick Harris's last year?
Oh, we'll get there.
Well, way to completely interrupt my comment and talk about something totally unrelated. That was great. But right, like, I have been up for 40 hours straight. Don't interrupt my flow because I might just fall.
Awesome.
There it went. Yeah, he's gone.
Right.
I like that
Sorry,
Petrucci
my bad.
punted Rins off the track just to get him out of the way.
They didn't show Rins though. He
well,
rode
it was
off
like
in
my
the sand,
point, right? Like, I'm not saying Petrucci would have won. I'm saying he could have. And the announcers spend the entire race mentioning last lap battles and heroics for the win. And what was coming up? Two best friends who on the track are going to be mortal enemies. And they both want that win. First win of the season. Yeah. Rossi's first win in over a year. Petrucci's first win ever and on his fucking satellite bike. And it's coming down to like the final moment. And then there's a fucking back markers literally physically in the way. You know, Petrucci was not even that stoked for his second place because he said he felt like he got robbed. And that's what I thought. Like, this amazing race, all this drama, like Everett said, you know, it's like it was like 2 or 3 races in one, you know what I mean? And then at the very final moment, like the apex of all the drama, is this actually going to happen? And now Rins is in the way. Yeah. The guy no one fucking cares about that I forgot was even racing this round. Right. And it's like, fuck, man, the only thing of note you've done all year is be in the way of an epic battle.
Well, did you see the podium thing where Petrucci's like using the hand motions and like talking to Rossi, and Rossi like pushes him and he's like, "No way, man, you couldn't have passed me," and he's like, "Yeah, dude, I could have fucking beat you." It was so funny.
And arguably,
I'm not saying he would have. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we got robbed of that final moment. Like those guys were battling tight enough, but yet. After that moment, Rossi had enough time to stand up on the bike and look by as he went by the finish line. Like the final turn, the final apex of the fight, the final second of the round got like robbed from us. And I was just like, I didn't get my nut. There's nothing worse.
That's a good analogy, actually. Wow.
Rossi
always gets what Rossi wants.
Comes up afterwards.
Yeah.
What was that, Kev, about Moto 2?
I was going to say, like, trying to get my nut, and then Moto 2 comes up afterwards. Like, that's like, I got a fat lap dance from a hot stripper, but then fucking A-Cup night girl comes in afterwards, and you're like, dang.
Badass.
Yeah, but she wasn't that bad. It was a pretty good race.
It was pretty good, for sure.
That's actually the best Moto 2 race of the year, but back to Petrucci.
But I mean, it's just like, how do back markers be a problem in fucking MotoGP? Like, this isn't AMA circa 2003, where every idiot club racer who thought he was going to fucking be a pro national winner, you know?
Yeah.
Aaron Yates is dry. Right, that's basically Petrucci said he was going to pull Yates too. He didn't want to run into him after the track because he was going to fucking fight him. And I believe that because Petrucci's a big motherfucker.
I like how Rossi was asked about lapping Jorge. And he said, I felt bad lapping him, but he was the only one that actually looked back and got out of the way. Yeah. So he respected it.
He knows how it feels to be at the front.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the Ducati too, but but I mean, they lapped Barbara, they lapped Riz, they lapped Jorge. Like it was a cluster for the marshals not to throw out those blue flags because I mean the riders probably. Rins should have known that someone else was coming because Rossi came through, and just that final left before the Timmer chicane is kind of a difficult spot to be in. But yeah, it was.
And the camera was crazy too. It's like you're watching and you're fucking on pins and needles. You're on the edge of your seat. You're like whoa, and then they just show Petrucci run into a random blue bike, and you're like, what the fuck was that? And then they switch back to someone else, and they make no real mention of it for like 10 or 15 seconds, and you're like. Did I just see something I wasn't supposed to see? What was that?
And then he just veers off into the sand trap. And you're like, what just happened to that guy?
Who the fuck was that?
No fucking
back markers don't get announcing. That's what happens. No.
I literally pulled a Conor McGregor, and when I saw that happen, I'm like, who the fuck is that guy?
I thought it was Rabat for sure.
Who?
Yeah, I thought it was Rob personally. I mean, it was like basically the same color.
I thought
it
was Tito. No, I thought it was Tito Rabat on his bike, and then he was the back marker. But
I know who you said. I just don't want to talk about him.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Whatever. Let's move on from this too. What haven't we covered just yet? How about we actually talk about Marquez because he did finish on the podium. So it was. Pretty...
Yeah, I mean.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, it was Cal. It was weird that he's battling Dovi. And Cal is like 90 seconds a lap faster than them, right? Like Cal comes from nowhere. He's 2 seconds a lap faster. All of it's passing
somehow,
and then somehow Marquez just had speed again. Like he just outskilled him.
Well, hold on. Those guys were constantly sizing each other up to see what kind of grip they had. And so he finally realized, like, he can do it, I can do it. That's generally Marquez, the way he sees another Honda.
Well, and Marquez will do it better, which is exactly what happened, right? He pretty much just used his talent to bitch slap Cal off the podium.
Yes.
Which is
exactly.
What I wanted
and he
to
used
see.
his talent to save that massive front end slide he had.
God.
In the end, that's what makes Marquez a champion. Is on his bad day when he wasn't going to get the win, things were going well. He still got third. He still bitch slapped the title lead and the up and comer Honda rider, in Cal, and he got the third when he needed to, and he didn't make any massive mistakes.
Yeah, there were plenty of chance for massive mistakes in there too, like you said, with that front end slide. What was up with? I mean, this is kind of a Honda up and down, and this is something that we've been seeing consistently. Like Danny can go kind of well when the tires favor him. Marquez doesn't go well when he gets the asymmetric front tire. If it's hot, then Danny works. If it's cold, then Marquez is better. What the hell is going on? Danny Pedrosa was nowhere.
It's all nuanced styles with the tire, right? Like Cal has a style, Marquez has a style, Pedrosa has a style. They're all slightly different with the Honda now, and depending on the tire and the conditions, it favors one of their styles. That's what I've observed.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you consistently read and you consistently hear the bike is just really hard to ride. Like, that is not an easy bike to ride. It's physical, it's demanding, and it's hard as fuck to ride. And so you see Danny, if it's not in his good sweet spot, he does horrible. Right. You see, Jack Miller just can't get a handle on it. Tito just can't get a handle on it. And Marquez, probably the most naturally gifted rider on the grid at the moment, has to nearly crash on front end slides to stay competitive. The bike is just too physically demanding and too hard to ride, and a lack of dry time, a lack of refining means they got to ride the bucking Bronco. It's just too much.
Yeah,
it's too hard for those guys to ride in a battle.
His natural talent gives him the feel on the tire slippage and whatnot. I mean, he just can feel it, unlike the other guys. It's just, and it allows him to override the bike and save those crashes and front end pushes and slide the rear, and I mean, it just gives him all that little extra ability on that bike, which those other guys.
Well, Cal could feel that if he had like 9 more laps, he could have won.
I saw it coming, dude. As soon as you said Cal, I was waiting for some kind of excuse.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, we had these varying conditions last year, though, too. I mean, there was a lot of rain, and yet Marquez put it on the box pretty consistently. Tires were Michelin's last year, too,
Nah, they brought these new compounds. They're just tinkering. The other bikes are catching up. I mean, it's a combination of things, right? But
yeah.
I think you say the same thing, that they're just not really addressing. The bike lacks acceleration, and with lack of setup time to refine that front end coming in, because that's really the only time they can make up, that's the only place they can make up time. Right. It's difficult. You saw them, last year there was lots of rain races, that was fine, but he also had a couple of crashes last year and some bad results, but, there was 9 winners, and that's really going to come out. He won a couple of races, that's going to win him the title. This year, you see Dovizioso looking pretty good, winning a couple races. Maverick looks pretty good. I mean, not recently, but overall he's still looking pretty good. But the Hondas just don't have that thing dialed in, to ride easy, to ride well. Rossi got a chassis that made him feel comfortable, and that's the key. He felt fast, and so he was able to decide there's no rain, right? Like, no Honda rider looks comfortable or looks like the bike is effortless, like they can get in the zone. We joke about Marquez being in the zone by sliding the front and almost crashing all the time, but that isn't really what he should be doing. That's when he needs to do that to make his balls out pass or his dives or like the wow moments, not front end sliding and oh my God, he did that while battling for 5th.
Yeah, I mean, the only time this year that Marquez has looked comfortable was at Coda, and it's because that's Coda.
It's Coda.
And it's Marquez. So, I mean, we might actually see that at the next round because he generally goes quite well at Sachsenring, and the Honda just seems to work well there. But like we've all said, there's a lot of variability in the tires. There's the new engine doesn't seem to be working out as well as Honda had hoped, and Marquez is struggling a little bit more, or there's just variability and he's struggling the same amount, and the other people are just able to pull it out. But yeah, I think the next round is going to show us something, and if it continues on this trend, then maybe we discount Honda and Marquez a little bit.
Well, the next round will be interesting because new surface and no one has tested there, so Michelin is bringing 4 fronts and 4 rears.
Holy shit! You knew something that I didn't know about. I didn't even hear that yet.
I knew about tires, bro. Yeah, I was reading that on Twitter. While I was getting ready for takeoff yesterday, and because I flew from the Faroe Islands, which is legitimately the middle of nowhere, to Iceland. And they're going on that, and a lot of the journalists are talking about the Michelin's bringing 4 fronts and 4 rears that everyone can use because they haven't tested the new surface there.
Damn. That's going to be...
dog.
And it's more variability, more craziness. We have no idea what the hell is going to happen at the next round.
No idea.
All right, let's go to some rumor talk before we close this one out because I feel like it's been a good amount of time here. And we have the summer break coming up in another week and a half, so we can finally get into some deeper talks about stuff. But let's do silly season.
And I will actually be in the country.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
I don't know if they're going to let you back in, man.
He hasn't.
They're not gonna let me back in. Fuck.
He hasn't had very much box wine over there. What are they gonna do? Like
he's smuggling box wine. That's his problem. He's going over there to source box wine.
You gotta buy wine at a separate store. It's bullshit. You can't even go in the grocery store. You gotta go to a separate store.
Is it like Blue Law? Is it like Blue Law?
Dude, like most of America is like that actually, which is what I've noticed traveling to other states.
Yeah, dude, Utah. How fucking weird is that? You go to a bar, you have to buy a permit.
No, they stopped that now. Now they just like scan your license with this machine that makes a huge wailing noise if it's fake.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's all. Whatever. Well, let's get off of that. So we learned with the silly season that.
Hold on. I want to make a point that you didn't put on the outline, but that I messaged earlier is that like. Because we got to talk about it. We just talked about how Dovi's a title contender. We talked about Petrucci's got multiple podiums, and he probably could have fought for the victory in the final 2 turns. It wasn't for that. And, like, even our main man, Carroll, did pretty decent this round. Bautista's been looking good. But Jorge had the worst qualifying he's ever had. The worst qualifying he's ever had.
Worst weekend of his career.
The worst weekend of his career. He gets lapped by Valentino, and the dude is so slow and offline, he notices he's getting lapped and actually fucking pulls over, right? And all that stuff.
Yeah.
The bro is, and you've mentioned the stoner effect, Rob, and you mentioned the bro is the anti-stoner. Like it used to be that Stoner was the only guy who could ride the Ducati, and he's the only guy who could pull the magic of that bike out and get wins. Now Jorge is the only guy who can't ride it.
So do we call it the anti-stoner, or do we call it like the Jorge Ducati effect or something?
He's the Bizarro effect. I mean, I don't fucking know, because Dovizioso is not a dude who lights fucking the world on fire, right? And he's looking pretty darn good this season. Petrucci like won 1,000 super stock or something. Like, who even is that guy?
I think he got runner up in super stock 1,000. Yeah, it wasn't even
right. He got hired by the Iota team in like 2013 because they had no money.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and he probably rode for free.
He did ride for free. He said in the press conference that right before that first race, they called him and said, "Oh, we can't test because we have no money." And he was like, "I gotta quit and go back to being a cop." So you know what I mean? Like,
it's
what?
Eerily reminiscent of Cal Crutchlow on the Ducati, right? Because I mean, to Lorenzo's credit, he is still laughing his way to the bank, right? He's still one of the highest paid, if not. I don't know, not more than Rossi probably, but
he is the highest paid guy, I assume, in salary. I mean, Valentino probably makes more money overall in endorsements and merch and stuff, but Lorenzo's got the #1 salary. They fucking spent like $12 million on the guy. They brought him over. He was their guy, and now we've got Daniele Petrucci with a better top finish than Jorge Lorenzo, and with 2 podiums. Dovizioso went from not having 2 wins, or having 2 wins in 7 years, to 2 wins in 7 days. And this guy's still, I mean, you said Cal Crutchlow. I'm starting to wonder if this guy's getting the Cal treatment. Like, there's a happy-go-lucky, interesting, entertaining Italian riding for Pramac, and maybe he's getting all the new factory shit, while they're like, well, Jorge's kind of a bust.
I think it's self-inflicted. I don't think the factory isn't supporting him. You don't pay a guy €12 million and just basically pull the rug out. I think what he's decided... We know this, right? It's all between the ears, man. It's 80% through, between the ears. He's a head case now. He's got zero confidence in the bike. I mean, the reality is Lorenzo should have enough talent on any of those bikes on the grid to not be where he was at. I mean, he should, to your point, he's racing against some guys what the fuck? It's like, dude, you should be top 10. You've got so much talent. Any of these bikes, you should be able to put top 10 in theory, right? That's the
right, because you look
process.
at like when the Ducati was in the doldrums, right? Like when it really sucked, when Hayden was there, and when Dovi jumped on it at first, and when Rossi was on it, they still weren't getting like lapped and qualifying 20th or whatever and all that shit. They were just like not getting their expectations. They were 6th, they were 7th, they were 8th, but they weren't like fucking lapped and just like a laughing stock. Like everyone's sort of like, it's almost like funny to so many people now. Like, really? This bad? Everyone else is doing pretty damn good.
That's exactly it, right? So hold on, Rob, real quick. It tells me that he's basically given up and he's not even trying. And if he's not trying, why would you support that guy? I wouldn't go out of my way to support a guy that's last place. So I don't know. I would just see that and I'd be very disappointed in my investment.
I agree that he didn't try, but only in this race. I'm not going to stretch it to the other. You got to remember, this is Assen. This is where he just destroyed the collarbone that he had broken 3 weeks or a few weeks prior, back in 2012 or something, right? And he has never done well here since that, and he's kind of been mind-fucked in mixed and wet conditions. Qualifying was in wet, his worst qualifying ever. Then the rain, he wasn't doing that bad in the rain, and then he gets water droplets on his visor, and all that shit comes back, and he just makes the stupid mistake of going in for wets and scores 1 point. Right? He did get 4th in the last race. Like he's not going to get 15th again in Germany unless it rains.
But that's the thing, because that ride where he broke his collarbone, went back and had it plated, and went straight back to the track and rode to 5th, right? Like, all shit talking aside, one of the most amazing performances like in modern GP, at least in the last 10 or 15 years when he did that. That was fucking insane. Yeah. Rob, you had your collarbone plated. Could you imagine racing like, 36 hours later at that level?
There was a kid in Utah that had his plated 2 weeks ago and he kicked my ass and I'm like, God damn it. Like, but I can't imagine.
Does he normally beat you?
Right,
though?
but I thought you sort of, and then he goes to the next round and breaks it again, right, and bends the plate and basically ends the title run. And you just gotta wonder if, like, sometimes you have so much guts and so much glory that you give it all then and it's done. Like, the guy's never really been the same. He, now we joke about how he'll win in perfect conditions, but the guy won 3 titles, won plenty of rain races, was not some head case. This is the same guy who in his rookie year had some of the most epic high sides we ever seen and got on crutches and went right back out and rode. He was a beast. Yeah. But you got to wonder if that broken collarbone, that, getting back out there and trying and getting 5th and then re-breaking it and then losing to the rookie Marquez, like if that broke him a little, because it's weird to talk about a guy being such a head case for someone who's a list of accomplishments are insane.
Yeah.
He said, I can't ride when there's no grip. But like no one
everyone else
has
did it.
No grip either.
Yeah, everyone else did. Right. And that's my point. He's supposed to have, top 5 talent in the entire GP pool, right? Yet and there's guys on worse bikes
Dovi,
with the same tires.
In qualifying, Dovi agreed with him. They said they had serious setup issues in the rain. Right? And it was just the 2 factory Ducatis.
But Dovi was still there. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Like and so was Petrux on GP17. It's like, there's but 3 guys on a GP17.
Yeah.
And he's the worst.
Right.
Yep. He's the worst. No, I totally agree with you that string of terrible things broke him in a way that he was no longer the Jorge that could launch himself into the air and podium the next day.
It's quite peculiar.
Yeah, like I made a point I made a point on fucking Instagram, which is hilarious, is that when, it's a picture of him, Sam Lowe's, and fucking Baz. And I'm like, when you battle rookies in third-tier bikes, our teammate leads a title, and the Sat Rider has more podiums than you, but 12 million, though, am I right?
Yeah. 12 million.
Oh, he's still laughing to the bank, man. No risk. Watch him retire at the end of the year. Be like, I'm done.
At some point, these guys, you might be laughing to the bank, but when you're as competitive and you have as much drive and as much fire as these guys, laughing to the bank ain't laughing, because guess what? All the other guys have a lot of money too. Valentino's got fucking more money than the series itself. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
You know,
it doesn't.
Maverick and Yali's done got paid.
It's remarkable.
You know, like, they all got money, and at some point, like, it's not like he was poor before. He's not like Rob, like a normal. Actually, Rob doesn't have a job, just so you guys know. Like, he's straight up unemployed.
Best analogy ever.
Right, you're like if Rob got paid $12 million to go ride MotoGP, he'd be like, "Hey, I'm on a MotoGP bike and I got $12 million. I'm buying Kevin 8 Zumas." But
I'd buy you more than 8.
But Jorge's a 3-time champion. You're talking about a dude who's as competitive as anyone can possibly be, like cripplingly competitive in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where nothing else matters. You know, Valentino talks about how he gets high for 6 hours after the race and that's it. And you will think about how much work he puts in around the track, how many injuries, like lifelong dedication for a couple hours of excitement. These guys are basically sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you're off your rocker,
right?
right? Where do you find the motivation when you've got that much money to keep putting yourself at risk? Yet
I mean, he's compartmentalized it. Like Jorge he's effectively blaming the motorcycle and blaming the team, and it's not his fault. He's still very competitive. He just can't do anything with the bike. That's what he said. He had no grip and he couldn't ride. Right? But this is one race. This is just one race right here where it's really bad. If he puts in a string over the next 3 or the next round, then after the summer break, and he gets into mixed conditions and does the same crap, then I'll go with you. But it's not going to happen because of all the variability in the tires and the setup.
I'm not disagreeing, but it's very telling, and we've seen other riders in the past leave on the top, right? They've left, Stoner just walked away from the series. Not saying that he's going to do that, but I wouldn't put it past it. He might just be like, fuck it, I just don't have, I'm not, I don't have
Well, yeah, but he's not on the top anymore. He'd be leaving from the bottom.
Oh, burn.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I meant.
He's
burn, dog.
He's 2 points behind Petrucci now and only 2 in front of Cal. Yeah. So that's not.
I would not be surprised if he basically said, this isn't working out and let's part ways. But I don't think
at the end of this year.
Yeah, I would.
At the end of this year.
Yeah. Dude,
there's my segue to the silly season.
Yeah, I mean, not right before, but there was a point where Valentino said that if he couldn't have gone back to Yamaha, he was just going to retire.
Yep.
Like that's how bad it was for him at Ducati, and it's what's interesting too is then everyone sucked on the Ducati. No one was good. No one was doing well. But like. Now Lorenzo's like, I'm on this bike that I feel like I can't ride. I had all these expectations. I was supposed to be the guy. They redid their entire thing for me. And fucking Andrea Dovizioso and Danilo Petrucci are totally showing me up.
Yeah. Well,
I need to check this for next round and see if Jorge has more points than Rossi did at when he was on the first year of Ducati.
Oh,
I'll look that up. You keep talking.
Different. It was different. There was different bikes in the grid and stuff. So
it's not really comparable. Yeah. Like it's not, and that's what we mean, right? Like with the anti-stoner, it's not comparable because everyone was sucking on the duck back in the day, and it was like, oh god. But now it's like Jorge went to Ducati. They'd already won 2 races last year. Iannone and Dovizioso both won. They both had hella podiums. The bike was on point. We talked about how we thought Marquez could probably ride that bike to a championship, and now. So he did not jump to a bike that only a talent once a generation could win on. We're talking about like basically journeymen and second tier guys could win races on. So we're thinking, shit, he's timed this to perfection. This bike is finally there. The tires have switched over and everything's all good. He's going to slip right in and look like the hero. Like, I expected him to win a couple races this year because I'm thinking, well, Iannone and Dovizioso won. The bike's clearly on a development path that's working. They're competing for podiums and wins when things work out. And you see him, I mean, he got 1 podium and he got a 3rd, and he celebrated like he just won the championship. Meanwhile, Petrucci is annoyed and pissed off at getting a 2nd place. Jorge would shit himself if he got a 2nd place right now.
Yes. The only reason why I was going to compare them was pretty much if Rossi had done better, and the answer is yes, Rossi had more points this time in the series in 2011.
I think there were different amount of factory bikes, and just I don't know if the Tech 3. Well, the Tech 3s were there. That was their heyday, right? That's why.
Yeah, that was their best year, best time.
Their best year. Yeah, so it really doesn't look good for Jorge. But yeah, I mean, I was gonna pencil him in for Austria as well. I mean, but at this point, he's shown that he can't really
Dovi's gonna do it, right? That's the bad part to Kev's point. He's in the shadow of
Petrucci will do it. Yeah,
Ducati Moses. I mean, he's got all those years. He's got all those years. He's riding his high. His confidence is there. I mean, that's fucked up to be pitted against that guy right now.
Yeah. All right, should we close this one out, or do you want to talk some rumors?
No, more silly season. Yeah, rumors.
All right, silly season.
This is like the gossip. It keeps the listeners listening.
Does it? Well, the first couple of rumors are already not true, right? Morbidelli is not going to Pramac. Nope. Alex Marquez is probably not going to Mark VDS because Morbidelli has signed for Mark VDS already.
That'd still be.
We don't know. We don't know what bike Morbidelli is going to be on because Mark VDS does not currently have a contract with Honda for next year.
Ooh, wild card.
Yeah, what else do we
juicy. I mean, the main thing is that Sam Lowe's, all the rumors that the dude's just going to get punted, right? Like they're over it. He's not up to expectations. The guy's he's a bust. And Aprilia, known for basically getting rid of riders quickly, is already saying like we don't want him. And so of course, what happens? He goes out and crashes out.
No. Hey, I mean, go back into the weekend because he qualified like a fucking madman, riding way over his head, and they were like, "Oh my god, he's looking so good," and it was a little bit wet, right? So he did look good because he could ride in the wet, but then he fucking tossed it,
and he caved under the pressure, and tossed it away.
Well,
your boy Piro Kev has more points than Sam Lowe's, and he's only been in one race.
Yeah,
it's fucked up. Wow, wild card.
I have more points in pro racing than Sam Lowe's has.
Oh, shit.
Well, I know Petrucci, Redding is also up, and you even watched during dirt, he had a pretty decent run going there for a minute before he threw it away, and, that guy's riding for a ride. I don't know where he's going to go, but... during the press conference, they talked about, Petrucci's up for a contract. Clearly, they would re-sign him if they could, but two podiums looking pretty solid.
He's going to be in high demand.
3 podiums. He's in high demand. There was some talk of Aprilia wanting to steal him. There's some talk of Iannone, leaving Suzuki early because that's just not working out at all. Because apparently they're not mad at him so much as they're mad at him and the antics of his entourage. I'm just like, that sounds so awesome.
That's so Iannone. We can't handle your posse.
Right, like his crew is causing problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you guys are doing too much gay porn back there.
Are we not seeing this all over his Instagram? Or is it just the gay porn?
No, dude, his entourage is dope. Look at his Instagram. There's a bunch of sweaty, sleepy-looking dudes always hanging out with him. All his friends are high and sweaty all the time. And just oh, what's up? He'll be fucking posting stories, and you're like, who is that guy? Who's that guy? Who are these people? He just brings his whole crew with him wherever he goes, and Suzuki's fucking Brivio's kind of over it.
Yeah.
Oh man, and they just got a new the guy from Superbike finally came back over to develop the GP bike, so maybe they'll have a little bit more luck.
Suzuki's in trouble.
Honestly, Lowe's just sucks. The problem with Lowe's is we're American, so most of the articles and most of the journalists we read are British, right? And the British are just so over the top with their love of their riders. They overinflate their riders' ability in just insanely. So anyone who reads primarily, English speaking media had this expectation of Lowe's that's been completely, blown out of proportion. The guy was not that great. He'd been riding 600s for 22 years. He's just not.
That's why he's number 22.
He's not a GP level guy.
Nope.
Yeah,
and he's proving that for us right now.
They're like Spanish girls loving Marquez or the Malaysians and Rossi. Is that a good analogy?
Yeah, they love Rossi. The Malaysians.
Yeah, so I mean that's like British journalists and any British writer in GP. They think it's to your point, the next coming of Jesus. It's nope. Rossi
Except
already
we get to hear them more, and it's annoying. I mean, the announcing in Q1 with Redding and Lowe's going through was just
their voices drop. Yeah, they turn into schoolboys. It's bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a bit much. So, I mean, it's interesting. It was the silly season that wasn't even supposed to happen. You know what I mean? But suddenly there's all these kind of crazy rumors because some guys are really underperforming.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, we talked about Iannone thinking he might do better because that chassis supposedly handles so good. But, I mean,
he was doing
not
good in the
well
off season. the off season wasn't looking that bad, and then just things kind of fell apart. Same thing for Bautista and a few other riders throughout the grid. And Barbara actually too.
Yeah,
and isn't there talk too of Barbara getting canned? And
yes, there is. He's been there forever though.
Yeah, Barbara and Baz.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about. I thought that whole team may be disappearing.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, no one wants that, but maybe that opens up the door for a different team to pop up or something. But
it's just
VR46
you could sort of
VR46 needs somewhere to go.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something. Yeah, because they just need to boot someone and put VR46 in there.
Rossi will make it happen.
We also saw that one of the original rumors of Pecco Bagnaia going back to the Aspar team is not going to take place. So he'll do one more year in Moto 2. It looks like, but Morbidelli coming up will be interesting because that'll be the first guy of the VR46 Riders Academy that's going to be racing against Valentino.
Yeah.
Oh man, and on a Honda.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, maybe not.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I already said that. Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Morbidelli did say that he has assurances of the machinery that he's going to be getting.
This is going to be a good silly season, though.
What it is.
I think it's going to be a good one.
We build up our expectations so much. But it'll probably be pretty good.
Well, yeah, but we're seeing this stuff.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny because
the veteran old guys are starting to shine, and so what we're seeing is some of these younger guys, but then even some of these younger guys who aren't panning out, they're like, get the fuck out of here. We got to take some other bets.
That is the one thing that I like is that people are actually getting fired when I feel like they deserve to be fired. Like you don't have Bradley sticking around for 7 years in the paddock because he speaks amazing English.
Well, but yeah, that goes back to the Bridgestone era, right? Like the Bridgestones were so quirky and different from every other tire that once you'd ridden them, it was like you were going to be in the paddock forever because you had some idea of how the front end worked. But the Michelin's aren't like that, so these guys don't hang around. No offense, Lowe's, but bro, you suck, and if you suck, you shouldn't be there. And Rins, bro, you kind of a bust too. Redding, you had your chance. You've been in the paddock forever, and it just ain't working. Let's make room for some new guys. And what's also cool is the old guys are getting respect. I mean, Valentino's staying in there, fighting for wins and titles. Dovizioso. So it's turning on its head the idea that we have to find the next guy. Miller isn't signed. Is he going to be there, or is he a bust?
I'd love to see him in that win. Won't lie.
But he was just an experiment, right? Yeah, exactly. Some of these guys need to make room and go laterally because they're just not as good. And there's a lot of talent. There's more talent than there are rides. And the days of you rode Bridgestone, so you're going to be in the championship forever are long gone.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where it's kind of it's a really good point. Is what were the expectations for somebody like Miller, right? What could he have done to get elevated? Podium more? I mean, nobody on the Honda is doing anything special except Marquez and occasionally Danny and occasionally Cal. And, Miller did win a race, right? It was a fluky race that he won, but what do you do to keep your ride when you're Miller and you're given a shit bike and bad circumstance and a shitty team? I mean, it's almost unfair, but that's unfortunately just the politics of the series, right?
I mean, maybe Cal is a better tester than Miller, which is why he got that HRC contract, and that's what it's keeping him in there.
Way more mature, right? More skill set across broader machinery. He's going to probably give tremendous feedback compared to Miller. That's just my hunch.
Yeah.
Well, the point for Miller was we're going to take this guy, we're going to bring him straight up, we're going to give him a 3-year contract. I mean, the guy got special treatment because he was, considered special.
Passport helped.
Well, the passport helped, but I mean, the passport only helps so much. Normally, guys don't skip the intermediate class and get 3-year HRC contracts for not winning titles in Moto 3. Because let's not forget, he didn't win that title. Right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But they were saying, we see something in this guy that's so special, we're going to make special circumstances for him. And what did he do? He went out and was decidedly normal. Right. And that was not the expectations. That was not why they did that for him and not why they brought him up. They didn't bring him up to be normal because they could have done that with any of the plenty of the dudes in Moto 2. They could have brought Zarco up to do what he's doing. They could have brought
that's
right. They said no. This might be the next guy, and we want to lock him in now. You know what I mean? This guy is such a potential that we want to lock him in early on, and he's completely failed to meet those expectations. Other than that one win in the rain, but he didn't win and then take the next step afterwards and look better. He looks exactly the same. Still fighting for top 10s.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is they didn't elevate his bike. They didn't say, hey, we're going to give you a factory bike now. They didn't have a progression plan for him and basically say, look, you're on a 3-year contract. If you win a race in 3 years, we'll give you the factory Honda and we'll punt Danny. There's no greater plan to progress people through the series is the problem, right? So how does he ever get a chance to shine above and beyond a fluky win when he never has really a chance to get the best machinery, the best this, the best mechanics, the best that? We know that there's probably five electronics guys in the paddock. If you don't have one of those 5, you're fucked. So.
Well, each factory rider has 5, and then all the satellite riders have 1 apiece. Is the problem?
Yeah,
but no,
I mean, he got Stoner's crew chief. You know what I mean? Like the dude did not just say, okay, we're hiring you, and then get thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, that's fair.
The thing I would give him is he didn't get the greatest bike, and then he went from the production bike to the shitty Mark VDS team. So he was on the production bike to get his feet wet with and be ready to go, and then they stuck him on the VDS team, which just isn't that. I don't know if the team's not that good or the bike's not that good, but if you've got a bike that's not that good and requires a lot of talent to get dialed in, he's on a new, inexperienced team comparatively.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger conversation there around how difficult it is to jump from there up. I mean, and you look at like a Vinales, right? He made the right, just minor progressions to get to where he got to, and was able to keep shining and shining. I don't think you've seen Miller get that opportunity afforded to him, where he can take a little minor incremental progression and get to the point where he would want to get to that Danny Pedrosa ride. It's just...
And the other thing, before we wrap it up, I want to cover with Miller is that the one thing that we've seen from Miller a lot, especially this year as the pressure's on, is he's kind of cracking a little. And I don't mean during the race. I mean in interviews. Even when he won that race, he was like, hey, man, I know I'm not an idiot. I can ride a bike, right? That was the first sign. I'm like, whoa, I know I'm not an idiot, right? Like... he's getting frustrated by the difficulties, and then he's freaking out on social media, and he's going nuts, and he's bitching about HRC and Honda because this guy never had to cut his teeth in Moto 2. We see what you have to go through to shine in Moto 2. Shit is a meat grinder. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, to rise above that, you've got to go through serious trials and tribulations. And you've got to put your nose to the grindstone and rise above, because that shit will chew you up and spit you out like you're a nobody. And like you've seen with so many riders, you saw Luis Salam not handle it. You see Fabio Quartararo having a huge hard time. The fucking list of good Moto3 riders that got chewed up is brutal. And the list of guys who've gone through Moto2, you see, and sort of rise above. Now we're finally seeing it. Your Ionones and your Marquezes and your even Zarco, right? Like, Zarco was tempered and forged by Moto2, and Miller got to skip all that difficulty and all those trials and tribulations and got to act like he's special. And now shit is difficult, and he's really got to figure it out, and he's not handling it mentally all that well.
Yeah. Maturity goes a long way.
I think we called it when he blew up with that fan on Instagram that he was going to lose his contract over that. Yeah. And it might be actually coming true.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap this one up. What is it now? Like
Kev's just getting going, man. Kev? Yeah, he's just getting going, man. He's ready for an 8-hour session.
I could keep going.
I gotta plug my phone in. One
guy on Instagram was like, "We need a 2-hour episode." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, me and Everett gonna talk about shit for days."
Yeah, we could just go. Dude, our car rides are the best.
Let's do that in the summer break. We'll have some time to actually like ingest or to make it through all these races and have some time to think about what we're actually going to talk about. And let's do it.
Kev, we're gonna have to record on the ride to Laguna. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have it's not gonna be a fireside chat. It's gonna be a Lexus ride chat. Something.
Facebook Live that thing.
There you go.
Just do it.
There you go.
Do it. And everyone, and Laguna's
yeah,
coming
you
up
assholes
in 2
haven't
weeks.
decided you're going to go to Laguna. We're pretty much convincing Cy to throw a huge kegger BrotoGP
It might be
style.
in the paddock.
So I stole his credit card. Yeah. He doesn't know. Yeah. But I got that American Express and drinks on staff.
Good thing he never makes it to the end of the episodes. Otherwise, he would know. He usually just listens for our plug and makes sure that we're holding up our end of the bargain.
Right.
Right.
All right, everyone. We have a race coming up in a week, so we will catch you then. And any closing thoughts, guys?
Nope.
That's a whole lot of silence.
That ass, and
You
we'll
like that
see you
silence?
next year.
Yeah. We will catch Dat Assen in a year, and we'll catch you after Sachsenring. Thanks for listening.
Peace.